Good morning, students. This is class 11th physics, chapter number 3, and I'll be discussing the homework solutions of lecture number 5. So, the first question given to you was question number 6. The question says a car moving along a straight highway with a speed of 126 km per hour is brought to stop within a distance of 200 meters. That means its final velocity is 0 and distance traveled by it is 200 meters. Now it is asking what is the retardation of the car and what is the time taken by it. So you can just easily use the equation v square minus u square is equals to 2as. V, U and S are given in question. So from here you will get acceleration to be minus 3.06 meter per second square. Sorry, this will be per second square. Okay, and minus sign here shows that this is a retardation. Okay, to calculate time you can use the equation v is equals to u plus at. From here you will get time to be 11.43 seconds. Okay, so the next question is question number 7, and the question says two trains A and B of length 400 meter each are moving on two parallel tracks with a uniform speed of 72 km per hour in the same direction with A ahead of B. That means there are two trains A and B. They are traveling in same direction, but A is ahead of B and they are traveling with same velocity, which is 72 km per hour. Okay, now it says after 50 seconds B accelerates itself with 1 meter per second square. So this is the acceleration of B, and after 50 seconds, this is the situation, that is the guard of B reaches the driver of A. So as you know, guard of the train always lies in the last compartment of the train. So this is the situation when B accelerates with 1 meter per second square and it takes time 50 seconds. Okay, so we have to calculate the original distance between the trains. So what we will do, first of all, we will calculate the distance traveled by train A and train B in 50 seconds. Okay, so to do that, for train A, initial speed is given to be 72 km per hour. To convert it into meter per second, we will multiply it by 5 by 18. Okay, so you will get 20 meter per second. Okay, so remember this, to convert kilometer per hour into meter per second, you have to multiply by 5 by 18, and to convert meter per second into kilometer per hour, you have to multiply by 18 by 5. Okay, so acceleration of train A is 0, time is 50 seconds, and let us say SA is the distance traveled by train A. So now SA is equals to UT plus half AT square. Putting the required things, you will get distance traveled by train A to be 1000 meters. Similarly, we will calculate distance traveled by train B. Its speed is again 20 meter per second, acceleration is 1 meter per second square, and time is 50 seconds. So you will get distance traveled by train B to be 2250 meters. Okay, so to understand the scenario, look here. This is the initial condition. Suppose this is the train A of length 400 meter. This is the train B of length 400 meter, and this is the original distance between them which we have to calculate, that is x. Okay, so this is the distance between the trains and we have to calculate this. Now after 50 seconds, as we have calculated, train A has traveled 1000 meters. So if it has come here, that means the driver has traveled 1000 meters after 50 seconds. Similarly, the train B after 50 seconds has traveled 2250 meters. That is, if driver of B is here, so from here to here the distance is 2250 meters, and they have just approached each other, that is driver of A and guard of B. Okay, so this is the scenario. Now see, if I subtract 1000 meters from this distance, what we will get? See, if I subtract, see, this is the point of 1000. So that means from 2250 meters, I am subtracting this part. So we will be left with this and this. So see, this is nothing but length of B. Yes. And this portion is nothing but length of A up to this, and this is X. Okay. So we can write down that 2250 minus 1000 is equals to length of B, length of A plus X. Okay. So when we will subtract them, we will get this. Length of B and length of A is given to be 400 meters. So just put the length of A and length of B to be 800. When you will add them, it will become 800. So X will come to be 450 meters. So that means this is the initial distance between the trains. Okay. And in your NCERT, the answer is given to be wrong. This is the correct answer. So you have to do this answer. Okay. Okay. So the next question number 8 says that there is a car A which is traveling with a speed of 36 km per hour. Now there are another two cars B and C which are approaching towards A in the opposite directions. Okay, so B and C are approaching towards A in opposite directions. Now such that after some time the distance between AB and AC is same, which is 1 kilometer. Okay, so AB is equals to AC is 1 kilometer. Now what happens? The question says B wants to overtake A before C. So what should be the acceleration of B to do that? That is, at some instant of time, B and C have same distance from A, but now B wants to overtake A faster than C. So we have to calculate what should be the acceleration of B to do that. Okay. So to do this, first of all, velocity of A is given to be 36 km per hour. When you will multiply it by 5 by 18, you will get 10 meter per second. Similarly, velocity of B and C are given to be 54 km per hour, which is nothing but 15 meter per second. So now, first of all, we will calculate relative velocity of B with respect to A and relative velocity of C with respect to A. Okay, so as you know the formula of relative velocity of B with respect to A. Now see, as I have taken B and A to be in same direction, so my formula will be VB minus VA, which will come to be 5 meter per second. Similarly for VC and VA, but they are traveling in opposite directions. So the formula will become VC plus VA and you will get 25 meter per second. Okay, so now we have calculated their relative velocities and we know the distance between A and C and A and B is nothing but 1 kilometers, that is 1000 meters. So let us calculate the time required to travel this distance. Okay, now you will ask which velocity we should take for that time, either velocity of B or velocity of C. So the answer is we will be taking velocity of C because we have to calculate the the acceleration of B such that it crosses such that it crosses A before then C. So therefore we will be taking velocity of C with respect to A so that we know in how much time C is reaching towards A. So therefore B should reach at that time only or faster than that time. So we will take velocity of C with respect to A. So if we calculate time, the time will be distance upon velocity of C with respect to A. So this will give you 40 seconds. That means in 40 seconds, C will reach to A. So that means either B should reach in 40 seconds or earlier than that because B wants to overtake A before C does. So therefore now look clearly, velocity of B is 5 meter per second. Time is 40 seconds because minimum time it has 40 seconds, right? So the maximum time it has of 40 seconds because if it will take more than that time, then C will overtake A before B does. Okay, and distance is 1000 meters. So by using these terms, calculate distance traveled. So that is S is equals to UT plus half AT square. Now you know all these terms. So acceleration will come to be 1 meter per second square. That means the acceleration of B should be this much. Only then it will be able to cross A before C. Okay. Okay, so the next is question number 9. It says there are two towns A and B which are connected by a regular bus service with the bus leaving in either direction every t minutes. That means after every t minutes, bus is leaving from either direction, either from A to B or from B to A. Now, a man cycling with a speed of 20 km per hour in direction of A to B. So there is a cyclist who is traveling from A to B direction with a speed of 20 km per hour, and he notices that that a bus goes every 18 minutes in the direction of his motion. That means after every 18 minutes, a bus is going in the same direction of the cyclist, and after every 6 minutes, a bus is going in opposite direction of cyclist, that is from B to A. Now we have to calculate what is the time period T of the bus service and with what speed do the buses ply on. So let us suppose that the buses are moving with a constant velocity V. Okay, so now if I calculate velocity of bus with respect to cyclist which is going in same direction, because at every 18 minutes a bus is going in same direction to C. So let us calculate that relative velocity of bus with respect to cyclist. So as they are traveling in same direction, so the formula will be V minus Vc. That means velocity of bus minus velocity of cyclist. So it will come to be V minus 20. Now the relative velocity of bus with respect to cyclist which is traveling in opposite direction. So the formula will be V plus Vc. So this will become V plus 20. Okay. So now as we know, the time period of the buses is T and their velocity is v. So if I calculate the distance traveled by the bus in time t, it will come to be vt. Okay, so now according to question, you know distance upon speed is time. So see, this distance vt upon this time, this speed v minus 20 will be equal to how much time? 80 minutes, because this is the time for same direction. Similarly, for opposite direction, distance is vt, speed is now v plus 20 and time is given in question as 6. So we have formed these two equations according to question. Now you can easily solve them. You will get the value of velocity of bus to be 40 km per hour and the time t will come to be 9 minutes. Okay. Okay, so the next is question number 10 and it says a player throws a ball upwards with an initial velocity of 29.4 meter per second square. So a ball is thrown upward with this much velocity. A part of the question says what is the direction of the acceleration during the upward motion of the ball. Now all of you know when a ball is thrown up, acceleration due to gravity acts on it, and acceleration due to gravity is always towards earth, that is downward. So in this also the answer will be downward because acceleration due to gravity is always in downward direction. Okay. B part says what are the velocity and acceleration of the ball at the highest point of the motion. Now when the ball reaches at highest point, after that it will come downward. That means its velocity will be 0 at upward direction, because suppose if its velocity is not 0, then it should remain going upward. But if it is stopping there and it is coming downward, that means at highest point the velocity becomes 0. So the velocity will become 0 at the highest point, but acceleration will remain g only, because acceleration is acting downward only. Okay. Okay, so C part says choose the x is equals to 0 and t is equals to 0 to be the location and time at the highest point. So at the highest point we are choosing x is equals to 0 and time also equal to 0. Vertically downward direction is taken to be as positive direction. So we are taking vertically downward direction to be positive direction. Now the question asks what is the sign of position, velocity and acceleration of the ball during its upward and downward motion. So now see, we are taking downward direction to be positive. When the ball is in upward motion, so its position is increasing in upward direction, so that means its position will be negative because we have taken downward direction to be positive. Acceleration is acting downward, so it will be positive. Velocity, again direction of velocity is in upward direction, so it will be negative. Similarly, for downward motion, position is now changing in downward direction, so it will be positive. Acceleration is acting in downward direction only, so it will be also positive. And velocity is also in downward direction now because we are considering downward motion, so velocity will also be positive. So in this case all the three will be positive, and in this case only acceleration will be positive. Okay, so the D part of the question says to what height does the ball rise and after how long does the ball returns to the player hands. So now as you know, at the lowest point any particle or any body has kinetic energy, and when it reaches to a highest point it has a potential energy due to the height. So we can say due to the law of conservation of energy, the energy at lowest point will be equal to energy at highest point. So m will cancel out, so h will come to be v square upon 2g. Now you know velocity, you know g as well, it is given in the question. So height will come to be 43 meters. That means upmost the ball will be going at 43 meters. Now you have to calculate the time for which the ball will reach to the hand of bowler. Okay, so now you know v is equal to u plus at. If I am taking only upward motion, when it will reach up at the highest point, velocity will become 0. Initial speed is 29.4, acceleration is g and t. So time will come to be 3 seconds. But remember, this time is only for going upward. But the ball will reach to the player's hand when it will come downward as well. And when the object moves under effect of gravity, the time of going up is equals to time of going down. So that means if it is taking 3 seconds to go up, it will take 3 seconds to come down as well. So total time will come to be 3 plus 3, that is 6 seconds. Okay. Okay, so the next is question number 11. It says, read each statement below carefully and state with reasons whether it is true or false. So A part is, with zero speed at any instant may have non-zero acceleration at that instant. So Abhi, I told you, when a ball is at highest point, its velocity is zero, but there is a acceleration in downward direction. So this statement is true, because when the ball has zero speed at upmost point, the acceleration is still there. So this is true. Okay. B part says, with zero speed may have non-zero velocity. This is false, because if speed is zero, velocity will obviously be zero, because magnitude of speed and velocity are always same. If the magnitude of speed is zero, then velocity will also be zero. Okay. C part says, with constant speed must have zero acceleration. Again, it is true, because as you know, A is dv by dt. If velocity is constant, and you know the derivation of a constant is always zero. So if velocity is constant, acceleration will always come to be zero only. Okay, so the D part says, with positive value of acceleration must be speeding up. See, this statement depends. So now you know V is equals to U plus AT. Up suppose I am taking upward motion of ball and downward motion of ball. Okay, in upward motion of ball, if A is positive and U is negative, then this will not be valid. And if downward motion of ball, A is positive and U is also positive, then it will be valid. For example, understand it like this. During the upward motion of the ball, its velocity goes on decreasing, but acceleration is acting in downward direction. And if I am taking downward direction to be positive, so that means the particle or the ball has positive acceleration, but it is not speeding up. Similarly, for downward direction, if you see, acceleration is still downward, acceleration is positive, and now speed is also in positive direction. And as you know, when the ball comes downward, its speed increases. So in this case, acceleration is positive and it is speeding up. So it is correct when the ball is in downward motion, and these are the cases. But this statement is incorrect when the ball is going upward, because in that case, acceleration is positive, but still the ball is not speeding up. Okay. Okay, so next question is question number 17. It says, a graph, xt graph is given to you. Can you say whether the graph from the particle moves in a straight line for t less than 0 and a parabolic path for t greater than 0? So the answer will be no, because a position time graph does not tell anything about the trajectory of the particle. Trajectory means the path traveled by the particle. So this is completely wrong. Okay, from this we can only state that at t is equals to 0, we can see at t equal to 0, the distance traveled is 0. So we can conclude this from graph. Okay, and then we can say, see, if you calculate its slope is continuously going on increasing. And as you know, the slope of a position time graph gives velocity. So you can say from this graph that at time t equal to 0, distance traveled by the particle is 0. And after that, its velocity is going on increasing. So from this graph, we can represent the motion of a body falling freely from a height. If it is falling freely from a height, its velocity will go in increasing, and the distance traveled will be 0 at time t equal to 0. So we can state it by that example. Okay students, so now your chapter number 3 is completed. Only some questions are left, so you can try them. On Monday, we'll be starting with chapter number 4. Okay, thank you.